top of the morning. We're back with another For Your Information Wednesday. I am your host, Andre, and we're going to be talking about things that many people don't want to talk about. So let's talk about Armenia to go cash free. All the links will be in the description below. Starting July, now, all major transactions will have to be made electronically, but some are skeptical of how it will work. Most major transactions in Armenia, buying a car or even a house, typically are conducted in cash, with buyers handing over thick stacks of bills, usually dollars, but no more. Under a new law, big purchases will have to be made electronically, either through a mobile payment app or via a wire transfer at a bank. And for now, at least this will come with a steep fee. Banks charge between 1.5 and 3% for the transactions. The new law passed by Parliament on June 9th affects business transactions of more than 300,000 drams, about $720, and transactions between individuals of more than 500,000 drams, or $1,200. That limit for individuals will be reduced to 300,000 drams in July 2023. The new law also prohibits local and central government bodies from making or taking any payments in cash. Some institutions like hospitals, universities, notaries will go completely cashless. Pensions and salaries will have to be paid via banks, even pawn shop loans as well, and transactions made illicitly in cash will be annulled. So I'd like to know how they went from buying a car or a house to now they got to know what you're doing with $1,200 and then reducing that by this time next year. When can we start imposing these rules on governments when they're the ones in control of our money and pissing it away? And it just boggles my mind that there's individuals out there, many in this world, that absolutely could care less as to what is going on in this world. And a lot of it is like, what are you going to do? You know, like if we got off our asses and actually started paying attention and actually doing things like they did in Afghanistan, like they're doing in Sri Lanka, getting rid of all their corruption there, like we would be in a far better place. And I'm not going to say that once we get rid of these people that it's all going to be roses and rainbows. No, it's going to be doom and gloom for a little bit because we're not going to have a idea of where to start, because we as society have passed on any obligation or any sort of responsibility to the government. And anything that we want to do is, we have to ask for permission. I'm sorry, that's not what the government is there for. The government is there to serve we the people, not us, we the people serve them. And many of the people in society have gotten that skewed, completely skewed. And just because you come up with some sort of rule does not mean that I have to agree with you, okay? So they're telling you it's also there to make your lives easier. Well, in what way? Because I don't have to carry cash? I don't mind carrying cash. No, it's about control. Just like when they told you that this thing was for your safety, and now look at what's happening around the world. They're telling you that this cashless society is going to be for an easier life. Well, what happens when you want to go buy things that they say that you are not allowed to buy? What happens if you've met your quota on your carbon emissions and you can't buy certain things? Because that's what it's all going to get tied down to. It's going to be tied down to your carbon footprint. And when you buy enough things or too many things that they don't like, they're also going to limit you on those things. And also, one thing that I bet you most people have not thought about, they can now also control where you go to spend it. So if they don't want you leaving your neighborhood or a section in your city, they will just not allow your cards, your electronic payments to go through because you're not in your jurisdiction. Have you thought about that? Same thing with the electric vehicles. It's not about clean energy. It's about, hey, listen, there's a computer in your car and we can shut that down when we want to, if and when you go somewhere that we decide that you are not supposed to. But, those are conspiracy theories, and many people don't like that. Now, I got one question I was thinking about on my run this morning. What's the difference between a prophet and a conspiracy theorist, or someone who looks into the future? Why do we have people that do palm reading? Why aren't they considered conspiracy theorists, right? Is it because maybe that those that are labeled conspiracy theorists are the only one are being labeled that because they're saying things that Big Brother does not like, and that term conspiracy theorists or theorist came from the government? So let's move on to this new bogus one. Extreme heat in the UK adds further air travel disruptions as it melts airport runways. This is a funny one, right? Parts of the UK are literally melting because of extreme heat on Monday. Luton Airport, about 30 miles north of London, has to suspend flights because of excessive heat damage parts of its runway, adding further strain to an already turbulent travel season. The airport tweeted on Monday that the high temperatures caused a surface defect to be identified on the runway, later saying that the high surface temperature has caused a small section of the surface to lift. Monday was another day of what the UK's meteorologist's office identifies as extreme heat, which they attribute to exceptional, perhaps record-breaking temperatures. The Luton area, according to the office, saw temperatures as high as 35 degrees Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit on Monday. 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees Celsius. And we're going to blame heat on this? I know there's many parts of the world, and I live in one of the parts of the world, that we get well above 35 or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Well above. There's places in the States. There's places all across, and we don't have problems with runways or asphalt or any of that. Can we perhaps maybe blame engineering and then the piss poor installation of that product? Or are we going to consistently blame climate change? And so if there's climate change, my next question is, why is Florida and California and all these major metropolitans not going underwater? I don't know for how many of you viewers are out there that have been raised in the 80s and 90s, but as far as I'm concerned, we're supposed to be well underwater from all the things I've been told in the 90s. Florida should have been gone a long time ago, yet they're still building high-rises there. Banks are still lending money out there, and if anyone knows anything to do with banks and how they operate, they do their due diligence before they allow any commercial or any developer to develop things, because they want to make sure that their money is safe. And so if there was a huge risk of water going up or whatever they're calling, banks would not allow it, but they're building it, they're doing it, so something does not add up right there. Also, we're going to move into this next article. We got our Lord and Savior here. The Pope tells young people eating meat is part of a self-destructive trend. Again, links are in the description. Pope Francis is asking young people to eat less meat in a bid to take care of the environment. Where have we been hearing this? Oh, that's right. They want us to eat crickets, biomeats, all that stuff. In a letter to participants at the EU Youth Conference in Prague this week, the Pope urged that we break this self-destructive trend of consumerism and prioritize sustainability. It is urgent to reduce consumption not only of fossil fuels, but also of many superfluous superfluous. I'm not sure what that word is, but you guys can correct me. And also, in certain areas of the world, it is convenient to consume less meat. This can also help save the environment, he wrote. So, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure if this individual, the Pope, has ever read the Bible, but we are to eat meat. We are. They're on the earth here by our Father who is in heaven for us to consume. That's why in the Old Testament there were sacrifices to the Lord. That's why in the New Testament we still eat meat. And this idea that it's going to be better for the environment and it's sustainable, well, what about these huge commercial factories that are not doing things sustainable, not growing their chickens free range, but putting them in cages where they poop on each other, or hoarding pigs in slaughterhouses, or moving cows that can't stand on their own fours with excavators because they've pumped them full of all these chemicals and DNA altering compounds. That's sustainable, but us eating meat is not sustainable. If you didn't look at the last video that I did on Monday, that was in regards to a huge cricket processing plant being put in Canada, and they want us to eat crickets. I actually just saw on one of my followers' feeds this morning on Instagram that a bag of chips, and it's called All Foods was the brand. All Food brand chips. They are now putting crickets inside their chips. And if you look at the ingredients, their second or third ingredient on there is crickets. I'm not joking. Make sure you read any of that processed stuff nowadays. If you haven't up until now, it's time to do that. So, let's move on to this last one here. This has to do with food shortages, and this is here in Canada, but it's going to be happening around the world as times get tougher, and it will get tougher. 100%. I would say that we're in the final weeks of good times. The screws are going to get tightened by the elitists onto the public. Again, if you saw, the WHO just claimed monkeypox as an emergency. So there is going to be that campaign and that brainwashing starting again. So this final one here is police are starting to patrol superstore locations in Halifax. Has some consumers concerned. This woman, Allison Zimmer, was getting groceries in Halifax on Sunday afternoon when she saw a police officer standing guard at her local store entrance. I was really disappointed and angry to see it, she said. I think it is really callous response to rising food insecurity. Several people in Halifax say that they've seen armed Halifax regional police officers in full uniform patrolling superstores locations in the municipality in recent days and want to know why they are there. Constable John McLeod said HRP has an extra duty program staffed by officers who can be requested by businesses, organizations, and events to conduct policing on or near their facilities. These requests do not draw from our primary policing duties and are only filed if there are officers available, they are filled if officers are available from the extra duty program. Now, I was telling you this is going to happen. The crime is going to be going up. When people can't eat or can't afford food, it's going to get dirty, especially in the cities. And my recommendation is, and I live by these words, is don't be where the problem is. So if the cities are going to turn into chaos, don't be in the cities. What's also funny is that the cops the chief here, he's saying that it's not taking away from the current resources that the police stations have. It's funny that they've had, like, all across the board, Canada, US, all across the world, they've had a record amount of police officers resign due to what they've been enforcing, these commercial codes and rules, right? So I think that's just a bunch of fluff, that they aren't taking away from their main resources, especially when they're having record low people coming in to apply for these positions. And it's also funny that, like I've said before, is they're telling you that there's food shortages coming. I was in town not too long ago, and you know, there are things that are up in price. There are things that are not available on shelves and slowly dwindling. But it's not scarce yet. It's not to the point where you have to panic. They're getting you accustomed to not seeing things here and there. But at the same time, when prices are going up and people's wages aren't going up, they can't afford it. And so desperate times will require desperate measures on all fronts. So those are people that have it and don't have it, right? So I would say get your shit together sooner than later. That's including food and protection of any kind that you can have. If you don't have any sort of protection, I would advise you getting it sooner than later, because your fridge has food, and criminals will always take the least path of resistance. So if there's armed guards at grocery stores and other businesses that have food, guess where their next option is? Gonna be your house. So again, this is not doom and gloom. This is things that we have to take notice of as a society as things get tougher. And the prices of food are high right now, but they're going to be higher because farmers are just starting to render their products right now. So their cows, their hay and stuff like that. And on that note, is if you're needing hay or anything like that, get that now, right? Like we've already made our moves, and we've set up all systems in place that we're good for our animals for at least a year as of now. You never know what's going to happen, and if anyone crawls up the driveway, also I have something for them as well, just in case the city wants to come out to the boonies. It's no man's land out here, and it'd be interesting to see someone try something out in these areas. So hopefully that is some good info, good nuggets. Hopefully you guys get prepared. Have faith, be strong, and keep your chin up. Take care.